Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Oculi Rebus. This is your host, Mike Ellis, with the MEE Mike Ellis Experience. This episode is produced by John Solis and is a Yuckfo production. So it's not a bonus episode because I've intended to do this for a while, the past since this incident occurred. But I've done my due diligence to be able to control emotion by taking time to address what I want to address. And it's the loss of life, the 13 that we lost in Afghanistan during the debacle of getting people out. So I will conclude this episode with reading their names to the best that I can, or, pronunciation. And we'll once again play taps. I hope everyone stands for it to give them a little bit of honor. Now, why do the episode? We've already seen the names. At least I hope we have. Well, it's tied to politics. It always is. When Congress was in session, it was requested to read the names, and Speaker Pelosi didn't even acknowledge it. I haven't seen a reason for not acknowledging it. Hell, I didn't hear it would have been good enough. But that's not what we got. Now, I think that there's an honest reason it doesn't fit the narrative. And I'm making it political because I see it as politics. And as politics that nobody should be standing for quietly. And here's what I mean. After the January 6th insurrection, right? Those right-wing Nazis, when they took the Capitol building. Shortly after that, what did? We put the officer in wake in Congress, or the Capitol building, excuse me. We mentioned their names. We had moments of silence. We did all this stuff for cops, which I support that, but not that time. The reason I didn't support it that time is because we have cops die every year in the line of duty in a far worse situation. But we have in the past. We have. I'm not going to say we didn't. We did have moments of silence and stuff like that. But we don't. So why are those two cops special? Why did all of Congress, the delegation, if you will, from all 50 states, have to have that moment of silence? It wasn't their police officers. Now, I respect that it happened, but I don't think it should have happened. Because it was politics. That's all it was. That's all it ever is these days. We do Oculi Rebus as I was thinking about it today. It's a de-evolution of media. And the reason I say it's a de-evolution of media is because I'm not fucking lying to you. I tell you up front, it's perspective based on facts. It's like entertainment almost. So this de-evolution of the media. Of course there's spin. If there wasn't spin, then why even do it? I'm not up here to argue that 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. It's harder to spin that. Now, theoretical math is fun and I enjoy it, but that's something completely different. George Floyd died. Regardless of your opinions on him, sure, we'll just say he was killed by a cop. We did so much for his case, his cause in Congress. But we don't do anything about the kids that killed themselves, which I think is more of a travesty. I'm not sitting here trying to attack George Floyd's character although it's easy. I'm just up here trying to wonder how this person gets more credentialed respect than 13 service members. Now, with that being said, we don't go across always reading the service members' names either, right? Maybe this time it was a little bit of political too, or politics as well. Sure, I'll give you that. Maybe it was. I don't think it was. I think that it was a genuine gesture. Perspective, right? Hell of a drug. But nonetheless, 3 minutes to read the names, if that, not granted. The speaker didn't concede the time, didn't recognize the gentleman, or whatever the decorum they use is. But it's funny, because in the 2010 elections, the Tea Party guys, they had such a movement in the DC area of politics that when that Congress convened, one of the rules that John Boehner had in the congressional rules was that for no shit, the first time in American history, the Constitution would be read in its entirety. Now, I know there was some Democrats who were against it. They were also saying the same thing. It's just politics. But then there's also Democrats who say it's a dead document. It needs to be replaced. It needs to be modified. It's a living, breathing document. Of course, not literal. Mike Ellis ain't a fucking idiot. I thought it was awesome that they wanted to read it. And if memory serves me correct, that's an original Iron Chef reference, by the way. Before they even started, a Democrat, I can't remember, it wasn't from Virginia. Nonetheless, he was taking issue with essentially which version are we reading. Some people took offense to the fact that things were, as one person put it, deleted. There was another representative who gave a great statement. We'll get to that in a second. But I could understand the upset nature of a representative by saying, well, we should read everything, including what's been changed, to give context to how this document has been living, breathing, adapting, and changing. Now, you've heard many times on this podcast to form a more perfect union. That's what the document's supposed to do. It's in the preamble. We the people, in order to perform, in order to make a more perfect union, or establish a more perfect union. I have no show notes, by the way, just the names that we're going to go over. And so this went back and forth. But why so many people were against reading the Constitution in the first place blows my mind. It's a good gesture. Because you have people on both sides of the aisle say shit about the Constitution that it's not even in there. We got that going on right now. But that's where we're at. One gentleman, I think it was the last one before they did the formal reading, he said that he did not like how the previous gentleman who spoke used the term deleted. He said that it's amended. It's amended because we essentially see fit to make these changes to establish a more perfect union. So this isn't the first time, and it won't be the last time, that things are brought up in Congress, like for parliamentary facade, if you will. People want to do things to act like they give a shit. But sometimes they don't. Sometimes they do. That's what the red, white, and blue's about right now. We're like a mounds. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. That's how a lot of these politicians are. Sometimes they care, Sometimes they don't. And a lot of times they care when their votes are on the line. And I think that was part of the reason why this wasn't read. These names weren't read. You would have to take ownership at that point. But we played politics. If I lost a son or a daughter, hell, if I trained a working dog in combat, I would be less upset if the conversation never came up, but I would be a lot more upset if the conversation came up and Congress didn't act, just to stand there and say, rest in peace, Fido. But that's how I felt when I read that. That's how I felt. I felt that we were diminishing the value of these service members. We were deleting them. That's why we didn't read them. Reading them would be an amendment to the narrative that we failed. Leadership failed on a grand level. Marine Colonel's out of a job now because of this. Now, he didn't have the right to say what he said, but he seems to be pretty fucking right. A lot of people don't understand this. The military is a totalitarian system servicing a democratic republic. So I get it. I see why he didn't have a job anymore. It's a shame, though. We need more leaders like that, though. Not to call shit that they don't like, but to call what other people don't see, especially civilians. If you watch the news, we got to come up with a better name for that. The media. We'll stick with the media for now. If you watch the media, you could see that there was failures in leadership. And this guy just called it out from an official position, and he got sacked. Again, rightfully so, because of the responsibilities of personnel in the military, and the Uniform Code of Military Justice is what they call it, I think. But now, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this, because in typical fashion, I've been going on and on. It's not time to move on, but let's talk about these service members. Now, before we get to their names, I've read a lot of really cool military hurrah type stuff in the past about till Valhalla and, the war never ends. There's always one more battle. And these really cool inspirational things. A couple years ago, I came across this, it was the arrogance of the infantry. Look it up. I thought about reading it, but not all these people were riflemen or infantrymen. And I didn't want some infantry person to get offended. No, I know they wouldn't be, but that'll be for another time. But let me say this. Not everybody in the military is good. Just like not every doctor. We see that right now. Not every cop. We've been seeing that. Not every lawyer's good. I mean, hell, lawyers get paid to get rapists off. Not literally, they already did that. That was their crime. That was a dark joke. Oh, that was fucked. Anyways, we know not all soldiers are good. But we have to assume that I'm saying soldiers, I know Marines, right? I'll try to say service members, right? We know all service members, when they're doing their job, we should view it from the lens of a child. Now, I'm not discrediting that mistakes don't happen. What I'm trying to say is when you have the death and you have stuff like that, you just have to believe that the intent of representing our country in a positive light was there. And it seems by all accounts that that's the fact for these 13 service members. They were out there working the gate, just trying to save people. I know one of the female service members, one of the last pictures was of her holding a kid, an Afghan kid. Now, we got a lot of Gold Star families now. The military is a volunteer force. Not everyone can meet the standard. I think the standards are low, personally, but not everybody can meet the standard. So you have to be better than other people just to qualify to be there. They get shit pay, benefits. Everyone talks about them being that great. I've talked to enough to tell you this much. They're okay on a good day. But they took the job that, by and large, most of you Americans don't want. They took a job that most of you Americans would scoff at doing, especially for some of the pay. Everyone knows that LeBron James was in Space Jam 2, right? He was the worst part of the movie. But we never know the name of a service member who lives in our neighborhood because they're not a celebrity to us. They're not cool. I met a friend. I got to share this episode with him now. He goes to the Vietnam Memorial Museum. He used to go pretty often. And there was an old gentleman. He was a volunteer. And every time somebody would come in who was a Vietnam vet, he'd stand up, shake their hand, and say, "Thank you for your service and welcome home." He asked him why he did that. He said, well, because they got shit on when they came home. Maybe nobody ever told him welcome home. So my friend started doing that. He told me the story. I started doing that. You'd be surprised how many veterans from Vietnam were never told welcome home. It's kind of sad. You can disagree with the war all you want. The average American who decides to serve in the military doesn't join for the let's go kill babies and women that some people think they do. They join for a higher calling. They join because they want to protect freedom. They join because they see it in their family dynasty. They join because they know they need to give back. They join because they know they can give back. Next time you want to sit here and discredit the military or a service member who's doing a good job, ask yourself why you're not in their boots. Is it because you can't deal with people telling you what to do? Is it because you would fight a drill sergeant? Is it because you don't like war? You don't have to like war to join the military. We need cooks. We need all kinds of people. I'm not telling you to unconditionally love the military. I'm telling you that there should be a certain level of unconditional respect. There should be a certain level, we'll do an episode on this soon, of fearful respect. Yes, there's criminals that serve. There's people that go to war, come back, and now are worse off, and they become criminals. But that does not beat the ethos of what it means to be a service member. They volunteered. Now, of course, it's too easy to say, well, it comes along with the job. You're right, it does. In war, death happens. This was a risk, and they were willing to take it. Sadly, the risk didn't play out in their favor. Now they're no longer here. There's wives that are bearing children right now. There's parents, there's dads that never bought their son a first beer. Not legally, at least. That's all deleted. It's erased. Well, I'm here to tell you that their names are etched in history. Every service member who dies should have their name etched in history, if for the right reasons. When I wrote their names, a lot of the show notes I do in pencil. I don't know why. I don't erase, I lined through. But today, when I did this, I wrote it in ink and not one of the erasable paper mate pens my grandfather used to use on his crossword puzzles. This is an ink that doesn't go away. Sure, you can shred the document, you can light it on fire, but my intent to establish a memory for these names is there. Saw a lot of restaurants and bars doing 13 drinks for these guys. I think that's pretty cool. Around certain holidays, I pour a shot and I pour a second one. First one's for me, the second one doesn't get drank. Goes down the sink. It's because I'm buying it for a service member who's no longer here. Now, without further ado, please excuse me if I mispronounce a name. Well, no. One more further ado. Or one more before. Instagram, Twitter, like and share it. YouTube. I'm starting to do some reels on Instagram. Instagram is at oculi_Erebus. The Twitter handle is oerebus. And YouTube is oculi Erebus. Again, you can Google Mike Ellis and pretty much find all of them. Make sure you like and share. If you have any questions you would like for me to answer, DM them, and I'll give you my perspective. All right. And again, at the end of this, we'll play some taps. I'm not going to say what branch just because I think that's irrelevant. It's important that they served and their names be remembered. You know what? No, fuck it. We're gonna go with the full 9 yards. Marine Corps Lance Corporal David Espinosa, age 20, of Rio Bravo, Texas. Marine Corps Sergeant Nicole G., 23, of Roseville, California. Marine Corps Staff Sergeant Darren Taylor Hoover, 31, of Utah. Army Staff Sergeant Ryan Noss, 23, of Corryton, Tennessee. Marine Corps Corporal Hunter Lopez, 22, of Indio, California. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Riley McCullum, 20, Jackson, Wyoming. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Dylan R. Marola, 20, of Rancho Cucamonga, California. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Kareem Nikoi, age 20, of Norco, California. Marine Corps Corporal Deegan William Tyler Page, 23, of Omaha. Marine Corps Sergeant Johnny Rosario, 25, Lawrence, Massachusetts. Marine Corps Corporal Humberto Sanchez, 22, of Logansport, India. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Jared Schmidt, 20, Wenzel, Missouri. Navy Hospital Corpsman Max Soviak, 22, of Berlin Heights, Ohio. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can go on and on, but it's time to move on. Mike Ellis, out.